Hey, what's up everyone? Upstart here with RyXe Gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. So in the previous episode, the main thing we did was unlocking milestones, getting these nodes, because they're called nodes, these tech nodes, unlocked, completed, and all that stuff. Some of these things we did for, advancement's sake, and others just for completion's sake. One of these that we did was, I believe, let's see, I think it was the industrial manufacturing was the one we did. So the main thing that I wanted to do was to get that one out of the way, so we can get manufacturers. So I can start setting up my production lines or assembly lines, whatever, or manufacturing lines. Uh, pun there, pun intended. Um, so I can start automating, computers, heavy modular frames, which I have no clue where they are. I thought it was on this one for some reason, but I don't know. I don't see it. Why is it here? Was it here originally? I thought it was next to the computer. I think that's moved. Oh, I think it is moved. Yeah, there was a recent update, another one, not too long ago. And there was a couple of changes. One of them, you could probably see it right here to my left. The personal storage box has been changed to a more like a, like a real construction or toolboxy look, with the yellow instead of the red. Definitely bigger. Where is it? I think it still looks the same in here. Yeah, they haven't gone back and changed icons. So for a lot of things, there's some items that have changed in design as well. Another thing, while I was in there, industrial buffer, industrial fluid buffer. So it has the same name still. So I don't know why. I kind of feel like this has the right name. I kind of feel like this should have a different name, like this. But anyways, so it seems the heavy modular frames has been moved to be unlocked in tier 4, was it? Yeah, in tier 4 with the advanced steel production. Because in reality, I think the heavy modular frame doesn't really need to be in the next level, because all these things are pretty much made with steel, or with the advancements of steel. So I'm guessing that's a nice change there. You get it like earlier on, because the only problem is that you can't automate it because you still need the manufacturer, which would be here. So we got that. One thing I didn't really check either was what items the modular engine and adaptive control unit require. I checked it. I don't know if I can actually make an assembler on hand. Actually can't. I don't think so. But just let's go check on one. Alright, so here we are at one of my manufacturers. This is a production line for high-speed connectors. I don't have any circuit boards being produced right now because I'm having an issue. But I need to fix that, and the way to fix that, I need to start using the fuel that I'm producing. But first, let's just go into here. Select recipe. I've gone, I'll talk about this in a little bit. I've gone and gotten quite a few alternate recipes, as you can see here. The insulated crystal oscillator. The heavy flexible frame I decided to go for instead of using the regular heavy modular frame, because I don't really have I'm trying to go around this so I can show it. I don't really have steel pipes to spare in the its ratio, so I decided to try to look for something. This one just popped out while I was trying to find other alternate recipes, and I'm like, you know what, this one seems, I kind of made the calculations in my head real quick, and I'm like, I think this is better because I'm not going to use rubber for a lot of things, and it replaces steel pipes in the recipe. I think that's kind of good. It's not really that bad. It's not terrible. It uses almost the same amount of everything else. So anyways, back to what we were talking about, modular engine. So I thought I'm like, you know what, I was probably going to use turbo motors or something. Okay, so no. I'm like, I kind of thought about it, but then well, you need this to unlock tier 7 and 8, where to unlock the turbo motor, so it can't be turbo motors. So it's rubber, regular motors, and smart plating. What I thought it was obsolete. I had said that before. I wouldn't know. This is the first time I'm looking at. Well, this is the second time I'm looking at the recipe now. But at the first, I hadn't seen it before, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what it requires. I thought that when you hovered over a milestone item, you know, it would give you the recipe right there, but it doesn't. But anyways, so modular engine is 2 motors, 15 rubber, and 2 smart plating. It's pretty much one per minute. The adaptive control unit is wiring, circuit boards, heavy modular frames, and computers. So this one's, I feel that this one is using the most intensive parts. Well, this is part 4, this is part 5, so I guess the part 5 is more advanced. So yeah, the adaptive control unit is kind of expensive. So the wiring isn't really, the wiring and the smart plating aren't obsolete, which is good, I guess. Let's head back to the hub before we keep talking. So back at the hub, and well, actually, I wanted to come and check on this right here, the space elevator. So it's 2,500 of these parts, right? We already said that I'm short 100 parts of versatile framework. Not terrible. We're okay. It's 500 modular engines, which I'm guessing like that's a lot, but it's not that, you know, expensive to make, I guess. The expensive one is definitely the adaptive control unit. Luckily, it's only 100 parts, so I don't think it's gonna be that terrible. I do have to make, you know, the calculations of how much wiring I'm gonna need for this and how much a smart plating I'm gonna need for this, just to see how I'm gonna need. This one's the modular engine is easy. It needs 2 per part. You need 500 parts, so just double it, right? You need 1,000 of these, so each of these containers have 2,400, right, of each part. So yeah, so I just need to double it, and I'm like, okay, so I need like 1,000 parts, so I have that. That's like half the container, but yeah, it's fine. The other thing is the wiring. That's definitely going to be an issue because 15. You need 15 of those, 15 each. These stack in 50s. So if you make the calculations, I need 100. Let's see. And I need 1,500 parts. Oh, so it's not that bad because I need 100. If there were 500, it'd definitely be a problem. But okay, I think we don't have to make any more of those either. Just 500 of these, and just make, you know, manufacture these parts, and I think we'll be good. We'll be golden and set. So one of the items that changed in their design, regrettably, I don't have any of that on hand. I'll show you guys in a little bit. One of them that I recall is the circuit board. They made the circuit board look more like the high-speed connector, more like a box than like a, you know, connector with a circuit board on there, and then another, you know, whatever that thing is called right there. The AI limiter, it definitely does not look like a cylinder anymore. It's actually more like as if it were like a very skinny computer or tower or something, kind of like that, like big. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, but let's see what else. I think that's the only things I've seen that have changed in their design. AI limiter and the circuit board. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you've noticed, you can see I have packaged fuel now. That's because down in my refinery, which will be there in a second. All right, down in my oil refining factory area, production slash production area, whatever. I was wondering, I'm like, what should I do with the polymer resin? Because the polymer resin, I was just having it stored in one of these, one of my tower containers over here. This last one. Right now, I have a packaged fuel, which that's how it looks, and that's what it's called. Packaged fuel, which requires just regular fuel, and you to have the empty insert the empty canister, you know, both into a refinery. So I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, I could just add an awesome sink and just have it just getting thrown into the awesome sink, you know, set up an awesome sink somewhere by the container, or, you know, somewhere here. I wasn't planning on sending it very far. I was just planning on just putting it there, connecting that to, you know, the electricity, the power grid, and, you know, done with that. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna need fuel to have fuel, you know, for jetpack. If I ever make a vehicle, I'm gonna need it, right? So what I decided to do was, well, produce packaged fuel. For well, I figured out, I had to look into it. And I'm like, how am I supposed to make this? And then think about the actual assembly line, production line that I'd have to set up to get that done. So, you know, my plastic refinery, rubber refinery, this one the residual fuel production line. This one's regular fuel with from oil. So this one has a byproduct, which is the resin. So I'm like, what should I do with the resin? How do I? And I'm like, wait, I need to get the empty canisters. And I thought it used like steel plates, or no, not steel plates, iron plates to make the empty canisters. But no, you actually just need plastic. It needs 2 pieces of plastic to make 4 empty canisters. So it pretty much takes that and doubles it. So I looked into the recipes here, and the residual plastic takes the resin and water, and it takes 6 residual polymer resin, and makes 2 residual plastic. And then in the recipe, 60 and 20 water per minute, and that makes 20 plastic. So I just wanted something. I didn't really care if it was going to be a good ratio or not. I just wanted to get this being used or out of here, right? So it makes 20. Each of these makes 20, consuming 60. So with the 4 of those working, it makes 120 total of polymer resin. It makes 30, 30, and 30 and 30. So that's 60, 60, 120. So this takes 60, and another one would take 60. So yeah, all I had to do was place 2 of these, making the residual plastic, and boom, we had that pretty much done. We had that consumed. And I was like, well, I kind of need water for it. So all I did was, I'm on the water. I just put a water extractor over here, connected it, bam, boom, bam, done. And so the next thing was that we needed to make the empty canisters. So I'm like, how do you make that? And when I saw this first, I thought it was made here. I was very confused with the unpackaged part. And I'm like, oh, so you get, if it's in a canister, it takes that and it gives you back the empty canister in just liquid, right? I think that's what it does. So I'm like, well, it's just one item, right? Empty canister. I checked the constructor, and yeah, empty canister. First I checked the craft bench, and then I went to the constructor, and yeah, it just needs 1 part, so it's a constructor item. So empty canister takes 2 plastic, and it doubles it pretty much. I only make like 40, like 20 and 20, right over there. So this one would take 30 if it were at 100%. But it's not, so it would take 40, it would take 20 and make that into 40 instead of 30 to 60. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just connect it direct. I don't need to do all this crazy, conveyor belt thing. I just, straight up, just connect directly one into one constructor and one into the other. Done. The next thing was, well, you need to actually send the canister and fuel into a refinery before you can get it into packaged version, which I have here. So what I have is the residual fuel pipeline, which is the top one. It produces 160, but I can't exactly depend on that one because it'll eventually run out. If my plastic is 100 is already full in a container, it can't produce any more plastic or rubber. That'll eventually stop producing or whatever. So I'll just go and make as much as I can with this, as long as it lasts. It doesn't really matter much to me. So, and the other one, the original, or the OG fuel standard recipe, that one would be for fuel generators, which we haven't unlocked. As you can see in that top right hand corner, we still have that milestone to do. Hopefully we get it done in this episode. I don't want to take too long just explaining what's going on. So all I did was split it off there, bring it down here, connect it there in the standard way, 50-50. So all I did right there, it makes 160. It's 160 flowing in that one. So split it off. 80 goes that way, 80 goes this way. We need 40 and 40. As you can see here, 40 per minute, 40 per minute. So this makes 20. This has 20, takes 20 and doubles it, right? So that's 40. So it pretty much, it's spot on. It's like it was tailor-made for it. Even though it doesn't make enough plastic, whatever. I just keep this at 100% instead of lowering it so it can just take 20 and say 40. I'm like, I don't care, just do it. I just want to make sure the polymer resin stays out of the system of the byproducts stay out of the system. So yeah, all I have is pipeline conveyor belt, stackable pipeline support, that thing. I have one there, connect those two, from one end to the other, add a junction in the middle, and then that's pretty much half and half, split in half. So there you go. 40 goes there, 40 goes that. More or less the idea. And then that just makes package fuel. So right now my production lines here are all stopped, I think, or most of them are, because my fuel, my what's it called, those containers there that I was using as like buffers just to hold the liquid. What I usually just do here, I just go into this, you know, and just completely flush the network. I just flush it because I don't need this right now, so I just flush it so that way my factories can start back up. So if we go over here to a to one of these power poles, oh yeah, that's one of the other things that changed. They the developers changed the texture and the detail on this to something, you know, from something like that could look kind of cool, exciting, whatever. They made it look, you know, just bland. I don't really like it very much. I thought the other one was kind of better because it did go with the theme of the whole yellow thing. Right here, they just have a yellow strip, black and yellow strip right there. So caution tape, whatever. It's kind of bland, but whatever. I have to use it. I'm not gonna just hide it somewhere. So it's gonna be used. So speaking of power, that's what I was going for. Right now I have a power grid of 3600. That is because I have done what I had said I was going to do, and I went back to the only 3 power plants coal power plants that I have set up. I still haven't set up that 4th one. I'm probably not going to do it. I may not end up doing it because it was the water. To get to the water, it was kind of a problem. It was kind of too far away from water where I wanted to, you know, move this around to take it, you know. So what I did was I remodeled. I kind of, you know, I got calculators out. I opened various windows of calculators, and I'm like, calculate this, calculate that, ratio of the water, the flow rate, how much water am I gonna need produced, how much coal the coal generator is gonna take, how much water is gonna take, this and that, right? And then how to split it properly. So each one has 16 coal generators. Each one totals produces 1200. So there's 3 of them. That's 3600. So let's head down to one of my coal power plants and just let's explain a little bit how that works. All right, everyone, we're here. So I wanted to get the best view possible, and since coal generators are kind of tall, I didn't want to just stay on the ground. So I decided to use my jetpack and fly up here. So I'm on top of a smokestack. So this is how small the actual smoke is now compared to how it used to be when it was like just puffs of smoke, or you know, whatever it's called, you know, like going really high into the sky. Maybe not that high, but from the bottom it did look like that way. So it used to be, you know, it actually used to be over there on the other side of this dune here. Now I'm on the opposite side, closer to the water. So what I did here, it was the same design mostly, you know, the 8 generators going down like this, but now I have 2 you know, like 2 files or 2 columns, whatever you want to call them, and there's 8 there, 8 here, 16. All I had to do was pretty much double, you know, the amount of water, the amount of coal being produced from the miner. So by changing the miners from Mark 1s to Mark 2s, since they're normal, they were producing 60 at first, and now they're producing 120. So dividing that by the consumption rate at normal, you know, at 100% clock speed, no overclocking, no underclocking. Divide 120 by 15, you get 8. 16, I mean. I don't know why I said 8. Or was it 8? No, it was 8. 120 by 15 is 8. But that would be, so I have 2 miners that produce the same, so pretty much just double that rate. I don't know why I said 16. Anyways, I said 16 because it was 2. So you get 8, and you have 2, so you get 16. You double that, right? So then the flow rate, maximum flow rate on the pipelines is 300. So you need to have at least that much, right? You know, maximum that much per pipeline. You know, per sets, whatever. So each coal generator consumes 45 per minute. Just a reminder, this is all, you know, no overclocking, just regular 100% clock speed. So 45. So 45 times 4. I'm gonna start with 4. 45 times 4 is 180, I believe. So I can't really, if I were to add, I could add more, so I can get close to that 300, because I'm like a little over a halfway of the flow rate, right? But if you were to add more, then you'd have to split the conveyor lines, for the conveyor belts, whatever, from the coal that's feeding in the coal. You'd have to split them differently and do a whole bunch of mess that I didn't really want to do. I just try to keep it as simple, as even as possible. So to keep it as even as possible, it was pretty much just one water extractor production pipeline uh, every four power coal generators. So I have 3 here, 3 there. I have 1 extra there, but I kind of have it all over the place because you kind of have to adapt to where the deep water is, where you can actually place your water extractors. I have another one that's near the water, that's down here on the map. It's way over here, and it's actually I actually have it over the water right here somewhere, and it's going out like this or something. It's kind of weird, or out that way. I can't remember, but it's on the water, so it's kind of easier because you have the water. You have pretty much a huge playing field with the water, so you don't have to deal with. It's kind of it's in a lake shape, or it's very odd uneven shape, and you can just straight on one side, straight on the other, bam, connect it, and it all goes in. Right here, you can't really do that. You kind of have to look for it, so that's why I have it all over the place. But I have 4 pipelines. One is connected to to one set of 4 coal generators. So that's where that is 300 flow rate for one, 300 flow rate for another, and etc., etc., so on and so forth. So I use the same splitting method that I use with the oil refineries. It didn't occur to me to do it before when I did this power grid at first. So I have a pipeline support here, support there, and then connect the 2, then the pipeline junction, and then connect to another thing. But since I have to connect 4 instead of 2, I have the same thing on another 2, and then pretty much just do the same thing. The pipeline junction in between the 2, and then connect here. Well, actually, first set up like a little junction in the middle. Try to find the halfway point. Kind of have that, because you gotta have that fed out as well. So you probably could have done it this way. You could have just connected directly into the pipeline junctions in the middle here, and then you could have just add the junction here and then connect there. I don't know. This is the way I did it. But you pretty much do that, and then it splits off here. Here it splits off again, but it's actually just coming here and ending there. So it's just like a stub there, so that's not going out anywhere else. So it's just there, and it's only feeding into 4. So that's every pipeline just feeds into 4 generators. So here, it's actually, I'll just jump down because I have to explain a little bit of the pipeline pumps. Yeah, I kind of didn't hold that properly. Let's go back to this. So I decided to, with each water extractor, I decided to just bring it down to 100 each, because I was going to put 3 water extractors. Because if I were to have only 2, then I'd have 240 water being produced, but I wouldn't reach the limit of the 300 flow rate, which is what I wanted to do. So I decided to just put 3 water extractors, and all I did was drop down their clock speed to the closest to 100 I could be. I didn't want to be under. You always want to be closest, but since you want to produce that much, you obviously want to be over it. If you want to consume the amount and you don't want to be over, you want to be under, right? So 84% is the sweet spot, because if you go 83, I think it goes to like 90 something percent. 80, what was it? It was 84, right? Yeah, 99.6. I don't want to underproduce. I want to have at least 100, so it has to be 84. So 100.8. It's not that bad. It's just a little bit extra. So all of my water extractors on all of my my cold power plants, they're all reduced. They're underclocked to 84%, just producing 100. So pretty much each of them is filling up, their clock speed of 300, obviously, right? So the clock speed, this flow rate, right, or whatever, it fluctuates. If it's not constantly, flowing the water or moving the water from one end to the other, it obviously stops. It fluctuates the flow rate, right? So I figured out more or less how to use the pipeline pumps properly, and that is to all I did was connect everything, no pipeline pumps. I turned on my water extractors and I just waited to see where it would fail, where it would stop, increasing the flow, where the water would not continue going, or filling or whatever. So in here, this was the first part that required it. Here, it was this connection from here to here. It was at the middle, and that's where I just pretty much put that. But you can't just straight up put it in the middle. You actually have to take a look and take into account. If you go into here, you see this this water tank container meter thing, whatever it is. If it were to go halfway, then you'd have to probably put the pipeline pump before the halfway point of the entire pump section right here. You'd have to either at the beginning or at quarter way, but not at halfway, because most likely at halfway, that's like the limit of where the water is. If you were to put it at the top right here, it would not be able to pump water. If it might be able to pump a little bit, but it would not pump it properly. That's for sure. I tested it and it didn't work out properly, because on one of this one I had it a little over halfway, so I went halfway. There was another one where I had it a little under halfway, and I put it halfway, and it pumped up probably a little bit of water, but that's it. It didn't even move it to the next area. It didn't even move it to the next segment. So more or less, that's how the pipeline pump functions. So in this case, it's at 18.3 of the head lift, which is like the pressure or whatever, or how high is taking up the water before it moves on its own. So for this one, I had to add at the middle, right? And then since this is obviously over 20 meters, taller or higher in altitude, whatever, above the water level, whatever you want to call it, I had issues too. So I checked it, and it made it to a little over halfway as well, because each of these 8x4 ramps, they're 8 long, but they're 4 high. So from this point to this point would be like 4 meters tall. So right here would be 4 meters, and here would be another 4, that'd be 8. So just like halfway, I guess, would be 10 if that were your limit, right? But it's 20, so you just double it, right? So yeah, it didn't make it. It didn't. When I had just added that first one down there, it didn't go all the way to the top. It didn't fill it up, and it didn't start flowing, into the system over there. It got a little over halfway as well, similar to how that was over there, because they're kind of sort of at the same incline, sort of. So all I did was, just add another one in the middle, and you have to keep into account the head lift. So if you put this one here, and then it goes over 20, that means it's not. It's going to a limit, and it's not taking your water as high as you need it to. So then you'd have to add another pipeline pump somewhere, in between of the next section, not the previous one. Try to always go a little bit before where the water reaches of the maximum limit, from where that one pumps it up. Let's say it pumps it up all the way to like here, so just go like right here, right? And it's 13.2, so as long as it doesn't go over 20, you're good. If it's over 20, that means you probably have to add another pipeline pump somewhere else, probably further ahead of the pipe of where the direction is going, because these can actually be reversed in their direction. If it shows an arrow which way it's going to pump the water to, so if you put it in reverse, well, it's not going to pump it in the right way, right? So that's mostly what's going on with these right here with these coal power plants. It's the same principle for all the other lines right here. Though I don't have it in the exact direction, as the same direction as I have the conveyor lines with the coal. With the conveyor lines, I have it from one side, going like, let's say it's going horizontal. That was horizontal. The pipelines are actually coming in and they're going vertical. So these two are actually going to the first set and the second set, but in the back, in the rear area. This one is going towards that area with one set here and then connecting to the other set over there. But the water, goes towards the back instead. And then these two in the front, well, it feeds the ones on this side. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like how would I say it? Like how we have to go to X to the X and Y axis. So on X you go this way, and then Y you have to go this way. So these are working. The coal miners are working on, like, I don't know which one's X and which is Y. I'm just gonna say it like that. They're working towards X, and the water extractors, pipelines, whatever, they're working towards Y. So that's kind of like the thing that's going on here. So if you were to first make this in the way I did it, you were to you would probably, you know, if you were to have a shorter platform, you'd probably make these two first, but you wouldn't make it that long. You'd probably just have a set of 4 here and a set of 4 in the back, and just connect the coal miners, you know, the conveyor lines. So just in case you wanted to know, to more or less have it, you know, how I have this, the platform would have to be 16 towards the back that way, and 20 towards that way. And if you want to have more space, then you'd kind of, you know, just add to that, I guess. This was my first try at getting this done, so I didn't exactly leave enough room. I would have preferred to have an extra one here. Just so you know, I said 16 because that's what I would have preferred. This one is actually 15 long because I'm missing the one that I would have preferred here at the front. Just to have one foundation, you know, of clearing without like stackable poles, pipelines, conveyor lines, all that. And then from the sides, with the 20, you have this one's not. I wouldn't consider this one a clearing. You know, you'd have one, and then that has there, but that's at the edge, and you have the one at the edge, sort of kind of cleared, but it still has power poles. So more or less, that's the setup I have going on here. I have each of them. I have, you know, this one here. I have one that was somewhere over here. I think I have it around this area here. Oh, feeding from that. I didn't do anything with that impure coal yet. I'm thinking about it, but if I don't need it, I probably won't. And then this one out in the water. I didn't have problems with going too far out where it's a forbidden zone and it started killing me. So that's all good. I kind of wanted to unlock, you know, the proper milestones and actually say more. I don't really. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know, this is probably the end of the episode. I really don't want to keep making my videos too long. You know, 40 minutes, 47 minutes. That's too long. So, regrettably, this is gonna be the end of this episode. And in the next episode is where I'm gonna probably well, most likely explain and show off the manufacturer production lines that I have for the heavy modular frames, computers, high-speed connectors. I have also, obviously, these are not manufacturers, but, you know, assembly lines for what is it called, circuit boards. Actually, the computer is on an assembler because I have alternate recipes, but I'll show that later. You know, the AI limiters, that kind of stuff. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more. Hit that like button if you liked the episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.